Salve and welcome to another installment of Magister Ambulator. Today we will be talking about the theme of going down with the verb Yarad Yod Resh Daleth in the book of Jonah. First of all, what is this theme? How is it pertaining to Jonah? And what is this doing in the book of Jonah? Why does the author decide to use it? So we'll start off with what is the theme. First of all, the verb Yarad is paired frequently with the verb Rala, Ryan, Lamed, Hey, and they are directly opposed to each other. Yarad is going down, and Rala is going up. Literally, you go up a mountain, and you go down a mountain. However, this transfers over from just going up and going down to going away from God and going towards God. We see this happen with things like going up Mount Sinai to God, going up to Jerusalem, where God's dwelling place is, and going down away from God, going down to Sheol and going down to death. With the verb Yarad, we have Jacob saying, "Surely I will go down, Yarad, to Sheol in mourning for my son." For Allah, we have Ezekiel the prophet pairing the Garden of Eden with the Holy Mount of God, where Adam and Eve originally had a relationship with God. So even the Garden of Eden is looked at as a mountainous place. Let's take a look at a few examples here. We have disobedient Israelites, and they go down into the pit alive. Moses has to go up to God to encounter him, and Moses, after going up to God, he goes down from the mountain, from God, to sanctify the people. So there has to be a going down movement from his encounter with God. Notably, God also is used in this, although it's different semantically speaking. When God comes down and meets the people, that same verb is used. It is not God going away from himself, it is God sanctifying the people by his going down. So there's a different use there. We also have Yahweh saying to Moses, "Go up to me," in Exodus 24. We have Isaiah saying, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord," and he pairs it with Mount Zion and Jerusalem. We also have 1 Kings, "If this people go up to Jerusalem," and this theme of going up and going down in relationship to the presence of God carries over into the New Testament. In the Transfiguration, Peter, James, and John are brought with Jesus up a mountain, and the passage of the Transfiguration in the New Testament is keying into Elijah's going up into a mountain, and that itself is keying into Moses' going up into a mountain. In Psalm 30, we have the two verbs paired together in this bicolon here. We have, "O Lord, you have caused my soul to go up from Sheol. You have revived me from my going down into the pit." So that relationship there is pretty well established right there. Now let's take a look at the book of Jonah itself. What's happening in the book of Jonah? Well, the first chapter uses the verb Yarad very heavily. Now, it's not all over the place, but it's used only in connection with Jonah in mainly the first chapter. But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. He went down to Joppa, Yarad there. And that is paired with the idea of Jonah running away from God. And later in the same verse, we have Jonah paid the fare and then went down, Yarad again. Jonah had gone down into the bottom part of the ship, Yarad there. And in chapter 2, in the psalm, to the roots of the mountains I went down. There's also wordplay on chapter 1, verse 5. When he had lain down and was in a deep sleep, it's not the same verb to be in a deep sleep, but it does have the 3 consonants all in the right order. That's almost certainly a wordplay there for them to be using that, because they're keying into that same idea. Now, all of this repetition is clearly on purpose, so that brings up the question, why is this showing up in the book of Jonah? Why is Jonah going down so much? Well, if you remember what we said about the theme of going down generally, you probably know that Jonah is being disobedient, and this is communicated by the verb yarad in its repetition. In fact, in chapter 1, about 50% of Jonah's actions are actually just yarad, just going down. So Jonah descends into disobedience, and if you take a look at the wider book of Jonah, not just chapter 1 and not just the character of Jonah, we see that the author is communicating the relationship between Jonah's disobedience and God's will being done. Because at the very beginning, God tries to get Jonah to go to Nineveh, and even though Jonah is disobedient, God's will still comes about. So we have a non-competitive relationship between God's will and Jonah's will here. Join us next time as we continue taking a look at the book of Jonah, and until then, Vale.